The Honourable Nanaia Mahuta.
Tuatahi tēnei katuake ki te tukutaku mihi maioha ki tērā kaumātua o ngai tūkairangi, ngai te rangi Machu Dixon. E koro, ko tō momo, kei Wainganui i te whariwānanga o Waikato, ko koe tētihi i tino tautoko ngā tauira kia rapu a rātou nei whakaaro o te ao Māori kia tuitui ki ngā mahi o ngā roia, nō reira ka nui te mihi atu ki a koe. Me te mōhio anō, ko koe te tihi, he kaipupuru o ngā taonga kei Wainganui i a koutou o mātātua waka te moana nui ātoi. Ka whāki ōringa ki ngā mahi nunui kei Wainganui i a mātua Waikato, nō reira e moi ki au tō moi. Kia tātou katoa, kāre au e tino hia ki te tarapeke ki wiwi ki wāwā ki ngā whiti katoa o te pire nei. Nō reira, tēnā pia māku hei hāngai e tuhi o oku nei whakaro e pāna ki te whakapāhat. I ki te au ngā kōrero o te pere te hini o te Pāti Māori, o na whakaro ki taku hiahia kia whakapāhatu te krauna mō ā rātou mahi ōmua me ngā āhuatanga kei runga i tātou nei tūpuna mātua kei Wainganui i ngā kura. Nō reira i tēnei wā māku hei whakarāpo poto, hei whakamārama pai, te take ka tono atu ki te kāwanatanga kia aro atu a koutou nei whakaro ki tēnei tinihanga. Mr. Chair, I just wanted to ensure that with a level of diligence and clarity, I explained the proposal that I have in the supplementary order paper to propose an amendment to the bill and include an apology. And it was for the simple reason that several members preceding me in this debate have identified some of the hurtful and harmful effects of Māori language not being allowed within the school system, and grandparents telling that story, and how that impacted on the next generation, actually, who I would call my aunties and uncles that don't speak Te Reo Māori. And that was a total sum impact of corporal punishment of their parents not being allowed to speak Māori in school. Yes, we've had the resurgence of Te Reo Māori through kohanga reo, kura kaupapa and whare kura, but it seemed to me only right, given that we've moved on as a country, to have some kind of acknowledgement in this particular bill about why it would be necessary to not only make an acknowledgement of some of the systemic historical impacts, and it's not to assert blame to any one government, it's to say this is a fact of our history. And if we recognise it in the same way that we recognise in treaty settlements the facts of history, then we're able to move on, which is why I think an apology is far better than an acknowledgement. Now, I accept, Minister, that perhaps in terms of the time spent of the Select Committee, if we could have used the Select Committee process to be able to capture a more, I guess, a more fuller acknowledgement and apology, that could have been time well served. But I had hoped, and my participation in this debate with many other members on the Māori Affairs Select Committee, was that we were not going to make politics of something as important as this. But I still hold out the belief that if we want to ensure that when people look to this Te Reo Māori, and it does have a different architecture to the Māori Language Bill which preceded it, it does propose an ongoing commitment of both iwi Māori and the Crown to protect, revitalise and grow Te Reo Māori, that we would have some kind of pillar to be able to hinge the architecture of this particular bill, because it's a little bit different. It will require an ongoing obligation of the Crown to participate in a partnership model for Te Reo Māori. And again, it's my firm belief that we need to recognise the Native Schools Act 1867, because one of the omissions in this particular bill, and the Minister will acknowledge that, is that we don't have the ability through this bill to impact on the public education system as it stands now, and we need to. So if we're serious about the ongoing contribution of iwi Māori and Crown to lifting the participation and the speaking of Te Reo Māori in all areas so it becomes a working language for everybody at whatever level that you have, then the education system is fundamental to that. Now, I am the kind of person that believes that compulsory, making people learn a certain language is probably not the best way, but a core subject. If Māori was a core subject and didn't have to compete with science or math or English, then you would see a lot of students, in fact, make very different decisions about the value of Te Reo Māori. Because right now, they're having to choose subjects based on how it's timetabled. And if Māori became a core subject, Mr. Chair,
The Honourable Nanaia Mahuta.
if Māori became a core subject where they didn't have to compete with other core subjects, then I do believe that more people would see it as an avenue to build our shared understanding of what New Zealand is all about, because we know that in learning a language, you learn more about a culture. In learning another language, we can share that in a very positive way. So the amendment that I have, which I believe should fall directly after the purpose of the Act, because again it hinges to the whakapapa of this particular Act and the repealing of the Māori Language Act, that we could have a summary of historical events which made a very clear reference to the Native Schools Act, and then an apology. Very simple. But if every party in this House agreed to an apology, then we're all saying, actually, it's time to move on. Yes, and the Minister made a very good point in his contribution, that iwi already have the opportunity to have an apology made specifically through their treaty settlement process. However, and I agree with that, however, this is the bill to do it in a very broad, in a generic manner that says, for the future of our country and the building of national identity, the Crown acknowledges that it has a role to play in the ongoing protection, preservation and growth of Te Reo Māori. Mr. Chair, I looked at the Minister's acknowledgement. There could well be politics in this, but I mean, it seems to me that the acknowledgement that is proposed in 5A falls short in my view, because what it does is it leaves or it defaults the acknowledgements to treaty settlements only, and this bill covers everybody, everywhere. And it's not to diminish the Minister's, I guess, proposal, but I'm saying that what is different about Te Reo Māori is that it covers everybody, everywhere, and it is an opportunity for us as parliamentarians to show leadership. I am concerned with the comments made by the Māori Party president, who took it upon herself to remind me of some local facts. Yes, Ngāti Koroki Kahukura does have acknowledgements about Te Reo Māori within their particular legislation, but I would hazard a guess. In fact, I was with them this morning. I would hazard a guess that they wouldn't be opposed to having a more generic apology to all Māori and all iwi in the way that I'm proposing. I understand that there have been a few frantic phone calls as a result of some social media activity trying to discredit Labour's intention and saying that it's being divisive. No, it isn't. Actually, it's trying to be constructive. We did try at the Select Committee to propose this. The Chair will confirm that it was something that he seriously considered could be opened up, but there wasn't an appetite for it. So I understand that. I believe that if this is going to pass as an amendment, it should pass with the full consent of the House and that we not make politics of it. In addition to Clause 3 in particular, I do believe it is an improvement in this day and age of a global community, and given that New Zealand has signed UNDRIP, that we made specific recognition that Māori was an Indigenous language of New Zealand. That was an amendment by our Select Committee because we believed that at a time, and it's happening in every country, where there's more multiculturalism and there's more kind of intermarriage and things like that, the status of Māori within our own country needed to be recognised, which is why we inserted that. The fact that it's a tongue of iwi, Māori and of the nation, I think, again, is a helpful amendment, but we should ensure consistency as we go through, and I think the review may well pick up that if we're not going to do that in the committee of the House. Finally, on clause 3 in particular, it seems to me, Minister, if you did take a call on the proposed amendment that I have made, it would be useful to know whether, if through the committee stages of the House, whether there would be some thought for you to give this to drafters and officials and consider it, whether you think there is a political appetite, and if not, why not? Because I certainly don't want to be going out to hui and be in a defensive position around this particular issue, and hui that we both, and that we all, Mr Chair, just in hui that we all attend as Māori members of Parliament on this particular matter. We've been constructive at every point of the juncture. In fact, my colleague Calvin Davis made a very good contribution as to why an apology is very important, and I couldn't add any more to the good comments that he's made. But what I can say is when we go out in front of our own people at hui, and we talk about Te Reo Māori and our shared aspirations to see ongoing commitment for the survival, growth and protection of our Māori language for all New Zealanders so that it becomes a living, working language, then an apology, just as it does in treaty settlements, offers people the opportunity to move forward. Offers people the opportunity to move forward and look towards a new way of trying to determine how the Māori language can be a language for everybody. Kia ora tātou.